Hey everybody, Cole here with Classic Mini DIY, and I have something super special to share with you guys, so stay tuned for that. Alright, welcome to the next episode of Classic Mini DIY, and on today's episode I have something super special and super exciting to share with you that we have been working on for quite a few months to get just right for your Classic Mini. Now for those of you who have been around the Mini scene for a few years, you know that there are not really a whole lot of different options in terms of shifters. There is your stock shifting assembly on a rod change or a remote change gearbox, or you can upgrade your system to a short shift system. And as far as I know, CAD, K-A-D, that's Kent Automotive Development in the UK, is the only one that actually produces a fully robust, ready-to-go kit. Now that kit is really nice, and they actually sell two different variants, one of which being the short shift version, and the other one being a standard ratio setup. So you don't have any sort of change to the geometry, but you get all of the benefits of the new shifter, which for later cars like the rod change gearboxes actually would shift and move the whole shifter assembly up in order to get into reverse. And the CAD shifter actually has a retaining ring that allows you to lift that up and move into reverse more easily, more like a modern car. But the trade-off of that is that there are really not any shift knobs that you can replace that setup with. You're really just stuck with the CAD original shift knob, which is a nice shift knob, don't get me wrong, it's a nice bit of aluminum, but that center sticker in there and the little recess, it just leaves a little bit of style to be desired. So that is where Classic Mini DIY has partnered up with a lovely supplier here in the US and is going to be offering a wide variety of shift knobs for you to be able to switch out that CAD shifter or your original factory shift knob with a new stylish setup. Now, we have a wide variety of different shift knobs available. Anything from a polished alloy to a brushed alloy and even a beautiful black matte finish on these alloy shift knobs. Now, we have two different styles. One is effectively the same as the CAD shift knob, which is a round ball. But it does provide you the actual shift pattern on those shift knobs, which is really cool. But the one I'm most excited about is the flat top, more classic style shift knob. It is absolutely beautiful and it looks amazing in the car, which I will show you guys here shortly. Now my supplier has come up with an ingenious way to get this shift knob perfectly set up on any setup, whether you have an original shifter or the CAD shifters, and it allows you to retain the functionality of that reverse collar that's on later shifters. So very cool stuff. I'm going to show you guys how to install that, but let's take a minute here to see exactly how that works. Now you can see here I've got all of our shift knobs laid out. These are of course our three round knobs, and these are our flat knobs that have the top flattened out and just absolutely classic and beautiful looking. And then of course this is our factory CAD shift knob. Now the factory knob does have some wiggle room inside this space here, but what it does is it screws directly down onto your shifter lever, and that's it. It's done. Screws right on, but because of the opening here and because of the excess amount of clearance, but for those of you who have a CAD shifter, you probably know that retainer that comes up that you use to lift up and get into reverse rattles like crazy. It is super annoying. So we're gonna be setting this CAD shift knob off to the side, not using that anymore, and we are gonna be upgrading to the super high quality alloy shift knob that we have here at Classic Mini DIY. Now, if you look at the underside of these, they all have a larger thread in them, which means that they don't directly screw on to either of the shift knobs. So you might be wondering, how do I get this working on my car without it being able to screw right on? Well, that's where these lovely little units over here come in. Now we have two different variants, one for the factory shift knob, which has got a little bit smaller hole there, and then one for the CAD shift knob, which has a bigger hole. Now these are your set screws, and they're set up with a very special thread. This is made to go directly onto those original threads, but it's supposed to hold tightly and allow for a really, really fine level of adjustment. So first you install this on your shift lever. This screws right on top, and then you have your little set screw on top, which you use to set the height and specifically where the knob is screwed on and, centralized. So as you're screwing that knob on, obviously the letters and numbers on the top here might be askew one way or the other. This set screw on top allows you to set a stop point for it to screw on, so you can get that perfectly aligned however you want it aligned, whether it's upside down, sideways, or right ways. As you can see here, we've got the whole selection, the whole lineup of shift knobs that we have available for Classic Mini DIY. But today we are going to be installing our brushed classic looking shift knob here. This is going to be what's going in Bad Wolf, and it is going to look absolutely amazing. So let's hop over into the car and I'm going to show you guys how to do that. Also, before we jump over there, I do want to show you guys, just as a reference, this is what the original shifter was inside Bad Wolf. Some of the later cars have one that have a flat top like this, but this is what these flat tops were kind of modeled after. And the flat tops are a little bit larger just to fit your hand a little bit better, because these are pretty tiny. For those of you who've driven the car, you know that's a small shift knob. But this is all targeted towards making that shift feel absolutely perfect and really, really feel good in your hand. So anyways, let's get over to the car and I'll show you how to get this installed. All right, so to start off, obviously you'll have your original shifter in place with the original shift knob. Now, this is a pretty straightforward process. You're just going to unscrew and remove your factory shift knob. This is going to be the same on the CAD or the factory original shifter. Now, this is what I was talking about before, your little reverse collar. On the CAD shifters, this lifts up so you can get your car all the way into reverse much easier than having to lift up the whole shifter. It's just a much nicer experience. Now, in order to get your new Classic Mini DIY shifter in place, all you have to do is take your new set screw, that looks just like this, and this gets threaded right on to your factory or CAD shifter. Now, the easiest way to do this is to get yourself an adjustable wrench or a socket and go ahead and just tighten this down all the way down. Now, with that in place, you're essentially half the way there. Now, you'll see that there's a set screw with a star bit on top. That will be your T45 star bit. That will allow you to adjust, tighten, and loosen this in order to set the height and total screw down of your new shifter. Now, we are going to be putting in our flat top shifter here in the brushed color, and in order to do that, you simply screw it in place. Now, when you screw this in, you are going to notice that it's going to screw all the way down. It's going to allow you to get down to that shift collar. You can see the reverse collar still works, but now that I have this tightened all the way down, the numbers are upside down. So this is the part I was speaking about where you're going to take it back off. And in my case, I want it to stop a little bit sooner. So we're going to unscrew that a little bit and screw this back down. Now, this might take you a few times. You can see my shifter still is not quite right. So it's a matter of adjustment. This is probably the least fun part of this install, but it's totally worth it to get those numbers aligned, as you can probably imagine. And there we go. Now we have our shifter perfectly lined up and ready to roll. And that's it. Your new shifter's installed, it's nice and tight, and you're gonna have this new beautiful looking setup instead of that original blue CAD sticker shifter that they had before. I think it's a much nicer improvement, and you still get all the benefits of your CAD shifter. All right, and so that's it. It is super, super easy to get installed, and it's super easy to get it dialed in. There has been a ton of time and effort and work put into making sure that these shift knobs fit perfectly for your car, for your CAD shifter, or for your factory setup. And we want to make sure that driving your car is an incredible experience in every way, including down to the shift knob. Now, if you guys have any questions about these shifters or what's available, any plans, things of that nature, feel free to post those in the comment section below. But these are now available on Classic Mini DIY's merch store, which I should probably stop calling it a merch store because it's more than just merch now. We've got all sorts of Classic Mini parts to upgrade and create a brand new experience for your Classic Mini. So if you haven't checked that stuff out before, head over to the website. I think you guys are gonna love the different things that we have available, but these are now shipping and available on the store, so head over there, get your order in now, because these are gonna start rolling off the shelves pretty quickly. So, thanks so much for tuning into this episode, and until I see you guys on the next one, you guys know the drill. Enjoy those minis, and motor on.